Welcome to South Texas Football Unlimited, the Coastal Bend's first, only original high school football podcast since 2018. Going strong. Welcome back to the show, our last one of the year. And I hope this is not a bad omen because we never end the show with a recap show. We always kind of just go dead until July.
Yeah.
It as a cliffhanger at state. You go to state. Usually it's been you going to state and me not going at all. And that's the last you hear of us until something, right? Usually June, July, somewhere around there.
I don't mind it.
But we thought we'd finish out this. There's a lot going on, right? These last couple of weeks. So we thought we'd end the show out. We didn't do one last week. It would have been normally that would have been the last show of the season. But we did not do one just because of work. We are exhausted. And we were just both tired. Yeah.
I was asleep, to be honest with you.
Dude, I mean, I was falling asleep on the way home.
When you texted me that.
Tim was like so disappointed we weren't doing a show because he lives and breathes off this show now, which is cool, right? We've got a big following at work. We're big in Belgium, right? One of those kind of deals, right?
He's also a security guard, so.
Yeah. Well, guys, welcome back. It's been a wild couple of weeks, right? There's a lot of stuff that's gone on since the last time we spoke. Been on the air, whatever you want to call it. And I don't even know where to start. I will start with this, actually. It's holiday season, right? And as most of you guys know, I live in Odom, right off Highway 77, the main thoroughfare between the valley and anywhere north and Houston, right? Anywhere north, anywhere. Houston, San Antonio, El Paso, whatever, unless you go the back ways. Dude, it is so busy with traffic. Like it starts usually yesterday. It started yesterday. Today it's getting worse, right? Because everybody's trying to get somewhere for Christmas Eve. And Odom really doesn't have the best railroad crossings. That railroad crossing gets neglected so bad by Union Pacific. Like you've got to like almost stop at these railroad tracks, right? So that's one thing, right? So you got this holiday traffic. I mean, you don't experience it very much with 181. I wouldn't imagine, right? Maybe a little bit there in Portland, but dude, it's bad. I imagine.
I guess they're taking that shortcut by your house. Is that what's going on? That road that ties in over there by Edroy? That's where they're rolling out of?
No, they just all the way through 77, right? Just
really?
Yeah, like so 37. If you're going to Houston from the valley, you take that right to come into Odom off 37 to 77. That's all that traffic. Same thing. If you're coming from Houston, you're going down that way. And anyways, so the other kind of nugget that gets thrown in there is the construction going on the Oasis River Bridge. That place is a death trap. Like normally, right? Now you got all this holiday traffic in there. I was coming back from 5 Points today. I almost saw like 4 accidents. Horns just going off everywhere because nobody's used to this traffic and the way it's changing and whatnot. It is a death trap. So, folks, if you guys are traveling, please be careful on that 77 to 37 merge right there. Just be very careful. It's not the safest place right now. College football playoffs.
Yep.
As most of you guys, maybe you guys didn't follow the page. I went to Austin on Saturday. Hadn't been to a game in 13 years.
How was it?
Dude, so it is night and day, the game day experience in Austin than the way it used to be. It's a whole lot better. They have a whole lot more things to do. They're really ramping up the game day experience even before and during the game. It was just really cool. It was really cool to be part of Texas football history as far as hosting the first ever playoff game at DKR.
Yeah.
That was neat. 101,000 people. That's a lot of fucking people, when you really think about it. That is a lot of people in that stadium. And like I said, they've got this whole fourth quarter thing. I put a couple of videos on it just so I could show.
Was that the drones?
So they do.
Get your master's. or get your.
It's not letting me switch. It's not letting me switch the view because we're live. Like I was trying to go to cell phone view, and it would have showed the video a whole lot more. But they do all this stuff during the fourth quarter now, light show and whatnot. The drones that are popping up everywhere, and then they have the post game drone show, which was new for this week, right? Because it was.
Change it every week.
You can't see it. Yeah, so I guess they change it every week. This was the going to the Peach Bowl thing, so they had a peach up there, ATL. They played Welcome to Atlanta as it was going, so that was pretty cool. But the biggest subplot of that was the quarterback rematch of the 2020 state championship game.
Yeah,
right. You had ESPN did a story on it. Did you see it? The little piece they did.
I did not because I was up there in the actual in Jerry World at the time, so I didn't see any of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. They interviewed TD, they interviewed Riley, they interviewed Quinn, they interviewed Cade.
Oh, really?
The players on that team, and they talked about what it was like playing in that game and whatnot and what it meant. So that was actually pretty cool. It was a good 5 to 10 minute little spiel they did on it. But so
I got to
Cade won the state championship. Quinn won the first round playoff win.
Yeah.
Which game is bigger?
I mean, arguably, I think the state championship, because I think I thought Texas was gonna walk away with that game anyways. I mean, realistically, the CFP, it's the next level of football. But I think like just downright more meaningful, probably at the end of the day, probably the state title. I would think for the majority of people playing in that game. But I think if you're gonna go like just based off of the levels of football, it'd be the CFP.
Yeah,
for sure. But I thought Texas was going to walk away with that game anyways.
It started that way, dude. I'm the two quarterbacks, so we're talking about which is the bigger win.
Well, how did Klubnik do? I didn't see any
better game, dude. He was throwing dimes, dude. Like they were, and I was texting you about how they were just picking on Malik Muhammad. I mean, he was putting these balls to where nobody could get to him but his receivers. He was, I mean, dude, they were beautiful throws that Cade was dropping in. And, you know, and we kind of talked about it at work where Clemson had the 90th run defense, right? So Texas was able to, Texas run game, in my opinion, is fool's gold, right? Because they ran for a lot of yards, almost 300 yards between the two runners. But Clemson had the 90th ranked run defense. That you knew that was going to happen. They took the pressure off Cade, and Cade didn't have to try to win the ball game, right? He threw an interception, which wasn't his fault. It actually should have been caught, and I told you that as well. They had a lot of drop balls that killed drives there in the second half. You know, they were up 28-7, going into halftime, and up until probably the end of the third quarter, Clemson scored 14. It was a 14-3 run that Clemson went on. Texas had only scored 3 points in the second half. And then, you know, Jaden Blue he had 2 huge runs. I think it was an 87-yard touchdown run that kind of – because they was getting close. It was a 7-point ball game at that point. And then he raked off one of those runs, and it put it back to 14, and that's kind of where it stayed, that 14-point deficit.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. It was a good experience. I was glad to have experienced it. It was actually pretty cool.
Dude, it was kind of crazy considering the fact that it snuck up and came and went really fast. You know what I mean?
It did. Yeah.
The CFP. What did you think of the first round of the CFP anyways?
I had that here. And what I had there on that was all the question marks going in did not perform. They did not answer any of the questions to people saying, why did this team get in? Why did that team not get in? I mean, it didn't do any favors. To that argument. You know, SMU, I really thought they were going to put up a fight.
Me too.
But 2 pick sixes right in the first quarter did not help their cause. It was freezing there. I don't think those Brisket boys were ready to play in that cold weather.
No.
Yeah, it did not look good. They got throttled. They didn't want to tackle. Interesting piece out of that game was it actually wasn't even the game. A lot of the big money donors for SMU and their private jets had to get diverted from that Happy Valley airport because they couldn't accommodate all the jets.
Really?
I think they sent them to Williamsport, which is a 60-minute drive away.
Wow.
And they had to shuttle them there. DeChambeau was there, the golfer, He was on one of those private jets with a bunch of donors, and they got diverted. And now, if you follow all the social media on there, it was 60 minutes on a good day. So they said they probably didn't get there till halftime, and at that point, the route was on.
Is DeChambeau, was he a SMU guy?
Yeah, he's an SMU guy. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, Craig James was in that shuttle with him too. Just they were all boozing it up. It was on Twitter, but
Hey, cooler lifestyles than us.
oh, big time, dude. So yeah, I would have liked to see Tennessee put on a better showing.
So did Nico not play? What happened there? I didn't see that game either.
I just saw, dude. Me and Isaac were kind of trying to watch it, and it just got out of control really fast. I lost interest. I was like, this isn't not even worth watching.
So now we got what? Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Arizona State, Penn State, and Boise, Notre Dame, and Georgia.
Yeah, and old boy just had surgery this morning, so he's officially ruled out of the rest of the playoffs.
Where does that slide for Georgia?
When I don't know. The kid's athletic. When he came in against Texas, I was telling the guys at work, we do not have the best luck with backup quarterbacks. It seems like a backup quarterback will always come in when Texas has the game under control with the starter, and the backup comes in and manages to beat the Longhorns. And happened again, right? It happened again. It's just the track record that they had the last couple of years.
Lost his head, but it happened.
yeah. But so I don't know. I think Georgia still has a shot. Notre Dame's going to make it interesting, but I don't know. I can't say I see Notre Dame winning.
Dude, Indy looks good. And I know it's just Indiana, but if you look at them as a whole, like they look pretty damn good. Like the biggest knock for me on them is just I think the quarterback, Riley Leonard's like sorry, I'm still recovering from being sick, but I think his biggest knock is like he's probably the one thing that holds them back offensively. But if he does what he did last week against Indiana, where he just manages the game and like makes good decisions, like they're gonna be tough to beat because their defense looks really, really, really good, and they fly to the ball. The running back, he only played like 8 carries because he was coming off the flu. He had like 100 and something yards rushing, like a 98-yard touchdown run. So I don't know. I actually think Indy's going to beat Georgia in that game. If you look at it as a whole, I think it's going to come down to Indy and the winner between Texas and Oregon to play in that.
Did you see Will Compton's post about the lineman from Notre Dame?
Yeah, so that dude went viral earlier in the year with the same type of saying, the 4 quarters of U football. And
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna see.
He made it again. It's awesome.
Here it is. I found it. You guys should be able to hear it because I'm sharing the screen. I hope. Tell me right away, Spud, if it's not gonna, if you can't hear it.
Let's go! Hey, we're all fucking built for moments like tonight, man. We're all fucking here for moments like tonight. God put us on this fucking earth for days like today. Days like today, he put us fucking together to go out and fucking ball. Like we did since we were fucking kids, man. Go fucking ball. I'm tired of fucking talking. Be about action, man. Like Freeman said. Tired about that shit. They gotta fucking play us. They never played someone like us. They gotta fucking play us. All fucking night long, they gotta play us. 4 quarters of fucking football. They ain't fucking ready for it. They gotta fucking play us.
Too far.
Could you hear it?
Oh yeah. It's
okay.
Best. It's the best, bro. They have 4 quarters of fuck you football t-shirts and hats.
Do they?
On Barstool Sports. You can get it in like whatever team you want for the most part. I think Nebraska, Michigan, and Notre Dame for sure.
We're getting one next year. That's our shirt next year. We're getting one. That's our shirt, guys. We'll take orders now.
Isn't that awesome, dude?
Oh man, did you see
Well, I didn't realize how much shit Kirk Cincinnati was talking.
Well, so that's what I was going to bring up. Did you see Kirk Herbstreit unload a clip on ESPN? Basically, he unloaded that clip against the network.
So is that why Shannon Sharp said he wants to beat Kirk Herbstreit up?
Well,
What happened
so
there?
I guess that's why. I guess Sharp was on First Take
Okay.
that day and said, I mean, that's been the story, right? The last couple of years. You need to fire Ryan Day. You need to fire Ryan Day. He's not a big game coach, right?
Yeah.
And he comes out and they win against the vaunted SEC team and they take care of business, right?
Yeah.
And essentially it was live. Did you see the clip?
No.
So it was live. He's talking to Fowler, and Fowler is just radio silence. Kirk says that, and it's just dead air. Like Fowler didn't know what to say because he's essentially talking shit about his employer. And that's essentially what Sharp was saying was, essentially keep our dirty laundry behind the door, right? Don't talk. We play for the same team. We both work for ESPN. I don't appreciate that.
Why was Sharp involved?
Huh?
Why was Sharp involved?
Well, I think he was the guest on First Take when they talked about it during the week.
Got you.
So I think that's what it was.
I need to find the clip because Kirk Herbstreit was saying they should fire Ryan Day.
No, Kirk Herbstreit was not saying that, but
he was saying that ESPN was full of shit for saying it.
Well, because everybody has. He said they essentially fired him on First Take already, and that's what he said. I'll see if I can find it as we go, and then I'll play it later. Yeah, Jarrett Vick, the Irish like the cuss. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely. Hey, but it's sideline talk. You probably didn't expect the camera to be there.
Cussing in football.
Yeah, there's cussing in football, right? And
cussing in football.
And we apologize for playing a bunch of F-bombs. We apologize. Sorry.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm willing to say no. Some other news that came up this week, some rather big news in college football, the JUCO ruling. Did you guys see the JUCO ruling?
Yes.
Essentially, the court case, for those of you guys who haven't seen it, there's a court case that came down that said JUCO players will have all 4 years of eligibility when they transfer, if they transfer to is it just a Division I school or just NCAA school?
I think NCAA school. Anything else?
So they will have all 4 years of eligibility versus the 2 that they would have had coming out of a JUCO to a university, which is cool. A lot of college coaches aren't fans. I think Sark has said something about it. I think maybe Kirby Smart said something as well. I think from high school recruiting, that hurts a little bit because just like the transfer portal, right? Why am I going to take a kid who's not proven, and there's not necessarily that all these JUCO players pan out when they transfer, but a lot of times they're Division I athletes that go to a junior college and they leave and they reshape their image or get some more playing time. And so it was so that's going to be interesting to see how things fall.
You have no idea, bro. I had a front row view of my brother-in-law flicking off Kirk Zanetti every time Irish scored or did something. It was great. It was hilarious. I enjoyed it.
So there's that, and along those lines, there's something else that popped up. So one of the things that I saw so I think we've been pretty clear about this, that we kind of dig the transfer portal, we dig the NIL stuff because, in my opinion, it levels the playing field with college football. You're seeing a little more parity. You're seeing some teams compete that you wouldn't normally see compete and doing some things. One of the things about the transfer portal window that I don't think people anticipated happening is during playoff time. You're seeing a lot of teams or a lot of players who are on playoff teams that kids are jumping in the portal as the playoffs are happening, right? So these guys are left with a decision at the 11th hour saying, hey, do I stay for this year or do I wait till the fall to jump in later after the fact versus coming in at the new semester and getting on with the team versus wait until after spring ball and you get there? Because I think the transfer window now is open from December 9th to the 28th. So it closes this week. The spring, I think it opens up in March, I think, and it's open for about a month there as well. So you're seeing some players. I know Texas lost a couple. SMU lost some. Penn State lost their backup. So it's very interesting to see how this is going to unfold. Do we need 2 transfer portal windows? Do they need to move it up during the season, or do they just need to get rid of the one during the season? What do you think?
Well, I think obviously the majority of the dudes that that are going to hop in that transfer portal more likely haven't seen very much significant playing time as they're already as is, right? So that's probably first and foremost one of the reasons why they're hopping in. Secondly, I think it'd be more beneficial for them to get in there and get their money up front and get their guaranteed spot on their next team. Also, being able to like get in there and start working essentially right away, right? As far as the dudes go in March, that would probably be more likely like your guys that just weren't sure of where things are going as a program, right? Maybe up until the very last second. Coaching changes coming in after bowl season. That's probably where you see a majority of those dudes go ahead and hop back in that portal. I didn't realize there was a portal in the middle of the season.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't until the playoffs started.
Okay.
Right? So at this point, it's bowl season, right? Normally, it would have been bowl season, and you saw it, right? You saw. I mean, that was because you saw that all the time.
I would say that maybe the only ones that would be a little iffy would be the guys that, like the kid from Alabama who was playing. I think he played a lot of meaningful minutes as a safety, true freshman. He hopped in the portal. But they're not in the playoffs; they're in bowl season. So I think a lot of these kids, like, they really don't give a crap about these bowls.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't hurt. It's really no sweat off their back if they miss a bowl.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, I believe, they still get the rings and what have you nots for being a part of the season anyways, whether they transfer or not. So they're really not forfeiting much once that happens as well. But to go back on the JUCO ruling, where it hurts high school recruiting, I also think it kind of helps you out a little bit because you're going to have kids, who might not have the opportunity to go to a D1 or a D2 right out of high school, and the route is JUCO. Well, they go and get 2 years of good solid film at a JUCO, don't burn up any eligibility, and are able to get themselves in a portal somewhere and find a way to a D1, D2 program. Whereas at a high school, they might not have had that opportunity and used up 2 years of eligibility in JUCO, where some schools might not be willing to take you right after that point. So I think there's good and bad to both sides of it. The one thing that's going to happen first and foremost is transfer portal is going to trump the recruiting unless you're inside the top 100 recruits, right? Because those dudes are proven. They've been in a program. It shows that they've been able to at least manage to stay in there. Now, whether they have character issues and whatnot for the portal, that's to be determined. It could go both ways. But who knows? I don't know. Other than that, dude, I'm not sure what it's gonna like look at as a whole once you get this first season completely done. You see kind of how it pans out from here. But the one thing is certain, it's not going away. We're just gonna have to learn how to navigate it better. And I think the same is to be said for the CFP. I think there needs to be some restructuring on how this works as well, because I don't really agree with, you got to win a game to get in to the CFP and you automatically get a bye. I don't really dig that at all. Like I don't think Arizona State and Boise State should just be chilling for no reason,
Yep.
over who, right? Like you made Indy and Texas play. Why? You made Ohio State play. Why? Because they didn't play in some bullshit, weak conference championship that you won that snuck you in there. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be massacres. I think Arizona State's going to get slaughtered. I think Boise State might play it decently, but and that's just because I don't really buy a whole lot into what Penn State's offering, but I think they need to figure that out as well.
Yeah. Well, that's going to change in a couple of years when they up that to 16 teams versus the 12.
Which no problem.
Yeah.
Right. But let's go off the rankings as a whole. Why even have rankings if we're not going to use them?
That was kind of when we were talking about it. I was like, like some of these teams that got the 4 seed weren't even the 4th ranked team in the nation.
Exactly.
So it's weird. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, obviously, growing pains. They'll figure it out. You would hope, right?
Yeah.
And another little nugget before we bring our guest in. He's in the waiting room right now. Did you see the proposed legislation that was presented, House Bill 619, by Barbara Gervin Hawkins, state representative out of San Antonio, which would allow a high school athlete to transfer for athletic purposes one time in their 4-year high school career.
Yeah, I did see that. Another one that's here. What can you do about it, right?
It's proposed. Doesn't mean it's going to pass. It's something that's going to go up to the legislation this session, and they'll vote on it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's already going down now without that rule being in place, right? So imagine that rule being put into place, right? What that's going to be.
It's a free for all at that point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's weird because I'm on both sides of the segment, right? Like, I think that what makes high school football so great is you play for a town, right? You play for a place you grew up. That's part of the thing about what makes Texas high school football so special. But I think it's something you can't get away from once you get into these bigger schools, especially in the metroplexes. Like, it's happening, and we see it. There's not much you can do about it. I'm not sure where they go from here on it. I think that I also have a problem with being told. Like, this is the flip side, and this is the only reason that I kind of see it is, like, if I had a kid that I thought was, next level material, and just based off where we lived, that current school and situation and staff wasn't producing him with the tools or the things that I thought was necessary to get him there. I don't think someone in Austin who has completely zero understanding of my situation should have any bearing on where I take my kid for his betterment. If you want to move your livelihood and whatnot to another area because you think it's going to help your kid in a sport, that should be up to you. And I don't agree with people being able to say no to that. Like, because, it's America, you kind of can, that's what makes this place great. Like, we all do it. You're always going to do what's best for your kid. The whole crap. Like, and don't tell me that, like, oh, well, any school can get them to the next level. That's also false. Me and you have seen it straight up. There are certain schools just down here that we see that have certain elements and tools they do to get their kids promoted. The other schools in this area, they have the capability, they just don't do it. And I'm not knocking those guys, but why would you not want your kid to be with those guys that are willing to go that extra effort to try to get that kid noticed? You know what I mean? And for someone to be able to say, no, you can't go there because of some bullshit rule, I don't agree with that either. So I kind of hope they pass it, let it happen. It's already going down as it is, and then we can just move on past it.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, because remember earlier in the year the UIL said they're going to be cracking down more with these PAPFs and whatnot and these transfers and stuff like that to kind of stop this from happening. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this summer at the legislative session and see what comes out of it.
I think a problem they're having is what has happened is they've been over flooded with these cases, and I don't think they got the manpower to sit there and go through them through the proper channels. So one of the ways to get by that and just say, you know what, let's go ahead and pass this bill, give them a one-time buy, and cut down on these cases. We can put our actual resources and do our job how we're supposed to on the actual stuff they're supposed to do their jobs on. Right? Back in the day, it was probably not nearly as many cases as you're having now.
Well, here's the other thing, right? Contrary to popular belief, the UIL does not have 300 people working in Austin. That is not it. There's probably 30. That work there that've got to hear these cases and hear all these other things and do all their other daily UIL activities besides this, right? So it's not a building full of cubicles full of people working for the UIL. So we'll see what happens. I have one more thing to talk about, but that can wait. That's on the lower end of the totem pole. Let's go ahead and bring our guest in. We've got a whole lot of new eyeballs in here that people were commenting here. They've been eagerly anticipating.
Yes, Carthage Football Factory.
That have eagerly been anticipating our guest's arrival. So without further ado, he's waited 7 minutes past his showtime, so we'll have to apologize. Is state championship winning head football coach Josh Irvin from the Ganado Indians. Coach, how are you?
Good. How are y'all?
Good. So there's no video. Do you not have video capability, Coach, or we having issues? Do we got to send something else?
I'm pressing the button for whatever reason. It's not popping up.
Okay, let's. How about you jump out and then jump back in? Maybe that fixes things a lot of times. Okay, thanks, Coach. Yeah, because it showed up. It showed a camera on his little window here, but it did not show up. So we'll see. I'm
just curious. Does that guy have to buy anything in Ganado now, or are they just going to?
We'll find out. We'll have to ask him here in a little bit.
Free milk and gas everywhere, dude. Jared looks like he wants to pay for everything.
you Ganado folks, does he? There's a lot of folks in the room here right now. A lot of eyeballs from there. Does he have to pay for a meal anymore?
I wouldn't think so.
If I saw him, I'd buy him lunch. Brought it back to Region 4.
Yeah, why not?
All right, let's see. I think I think it's still having issues. We may just get audio only. All right, Coach. I don't know what's going on. It's just showing a. It's
Yes,
just
sir. Yeah, I'm not sure. It says it's unable to connect. I don't know. I got one of those cameras in the computer. So
yeah. Well, anyways,
That's good.
we have your voice. It's good enough. We can make it work. It's going back to our old days of the Gorilla podcasting where you didn't see anybody. But we appreciate you taking the time, Coach. I can only imagine how busy your schedule is. I know even with the holiday week coming up, I imagine it's still pretty busy, kissing babies and shaking hands around town.
yes, sir. No, it's been very busy, but glad to be able to come on and nice to meet you.
So, you've been there since a couple of years. You got hired in 2022. Interesting tidbit here, Justin. I don't know if you know this. He replaced actually Coach Bennett that was in George West that just resigned this year.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yes, he took the job in George West. So, we had a lot of questions that came in, Coach. Let's talk about how you got here. So, for you folks that don't know very much about Coach Irvin, he's 30 years old.
Youngest guy in the room.
Yeah, the youngest guy in the room right now. Has been a head coach, athletic director since he was 28. What was that like? Let's talk a little bit about you. You're a Bay City boy originally, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're from the area, you know the kids, you know the communities, you know everything that's around there. Played college ball at St. Mary's, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you were on here, I'd share your recruiting profile I found while I was trying to search some information on you. Believe it or not, there's not a whole lot of information on you on the internet, Coach.
Yes, sir. I'm not big into social media.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've actually been in Ganado since 2018, 17, somewhere in there. So I came with Coach Bennett from Bay City as the offensive coordinator. And so I think that had a big part to do with being able to become the athletic director in 2022. It's just the relationships that I built over those 3-4 years prior in kids.
So
did you start off in Bay City? Is that where that was your first stop in your coaching career? Was back home where you played?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So that was always kind of the dream, was to after college playing football, was to go back home and just ride out my whole career in Bay City. And whether that was ever being a head coach or not, I love Bay City. That's where I'm from. And that's kind of just where my mindset was at. And then I met Coach Bennett, who absolutely love him. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without him. Not just in Ganado, but I'm talking about just the type of coach I am and the knowledge that I have. But so I fell in under him, and when he got the opportunity to come to Ganado, it was a no-brainer. When he offered me to come be the offensive coordinator to come over with him.
What was your job at Bay City? Were you the OC back at Bay City, or were you just a positions coach?
So Coach Bennett was actually the offensive coordinator at Bay City. I was just the quarterback's coach. And so we worked a lot together, and he was actually the head softball coach there for a little bit, and I was the assistant softball coach under him. So we were always together. We developed a really good relationship at Bay City that just grew even stronger when we came over to Ganado.
So you kind of hit it. Well, we kind of mentioned it already. You're being so young. What kind of difficulties have you experienced right now being a young head coach, athletic director?
I guess the biggest difficulties would be, and I don't know if it changes based on however old you are, is just doing stuff for the first time, not really knowing what you're getting into. But in that, I'll say I think that I'm blessed with a good kind of support and cash from the outside, whether it's Coach Bennett or Coach Lucio at Tidehaven, people that I trust that I can reach out to and bounce ideas off of. And they usually give me really, really good feedback that we can go with or adapt to.
Did you have a pretty good idea, like you were going to be able to get that Ganado head coaching job when Coach Bennett left? Was that something that you knew was in the works, or was that something that you were just taking a shot on and it panned out for you?
Yeah, definitely more so of just taking a shot on and it panned out. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting probably to get the job, but I thought that it would be really cool just to interview for it and see what that process is like. Because up to that point, I've never interviewed for an athletic director job, and there's so much that goes into it in terms of making a portfolio and kind of thinking about, hey, if they ask you what's the off-season program going to look like, well, we need to know this. If the athletic period is first period, if the athletic period is the last period of the day or in the middle of the day, and just trying to be as prepared as possible. And so I didn't think that I would get the job, but I thought that I needed to at least apply and put myself in that position, being uncomfortable, to be able to learn from it for the future.
And then building your staff, were you able to retain a lot of the guys there at Ganado that was with Coach Bennett, or did you have to go out and find a whole nother group of guys?
Yeah, so I think we only lost one person off of that last year that Coach Bennett was here, and the biggest hire I think, and I actually told the FanDuel or Valley Sports, whatever it's called now, I told them before the game. I think the biggest thing that's kind of changed the trajectory of the program as a whole is it was the hire of our defensive coordinator, and so we were able to bring him back. He's originally from Ganado, and he worked with us in 2019 when we went to the quarterfinals, and then he left back to Smithson Valley. And so being able to get him back here in Ganado, I mean, that's just it's really catapulted the program as a whole.
You know, when Coach Bennett got there, you know, he kind of woke up a sleeping giant that was there in Ganado. You know, when Odom had their run back in 16, I mean, we'd see Ganado when they were 3A at the time, or were we still 2A? Was that before the reshuffling? We may have been 2A. You know, you'd see Ganado in the first, second round, and it was kind of okay. This is just a tune-up for the following week, and you know they made some changes there, and Coach Bennett came in, and man, he and a lot of coaches here were kind of worried about that because they know he knows football, and they expected him to do some great things there, and sure enough, you know, he just said they were in the quarterfinals in 19. You know, since you've been there, Coach, I mean, y'all went 9-4 your first season, 12-3 last year, lost to Timpson in the state semis, and then this year you guys go 15-1 and you win state, right? 36-8 record for a 28-year-old, 30-year-old head coach right out the gate. That's pretty good, man. That's very impressive. So you're obviously learning the right things. My question is to some of these younger cats. You know, we know a lot of coaches who are younger and they're kind of waiting their turn. You know, what kind of advice would you want to give an up and coming coordinator coach that wants to be a head coach, athletic director?
For sure. I think the biggest thing is you got to work as hard as you possibly can, in whatever your role may be right now. And I think that's what I always try to do the best job of, whether it's the quarterback coach at Bay City or offensive coordinator here in Ganado, or even the other duties at Bay City, which did all kinds of things. But I was blessed to be in that opportunity under Coach Flores to see a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes, because it's not just coaching football on the field like some people think it may be. There's a lot more that goes into being a successful program. And the second thing that I think is really, really big is you really have to surround yourself with good people. And I think that there's a lot of the time that people don't necessarily do that. If someone's not doing the right things, well, obviously you don't need to be around them, but find people that have the same goals, the same ambitions as you, and man, just hang out with them and try and soak up as much knowledge from them and help each other out, bounce ideas off each other. And that's where I think, I mean, I can't tell you how much of a blessing that Coach Bennett is to me. And I talked to him the other day. Whenever he called me, he was like, "Hey, I want you to hear from me first. I'm getting out of coaching and I'm leaving George West." And he just thanked me for everything that I did, and I reciprocated the same feelings towards him. But I think those are the really two big things: is you got to work as hard as you possibly can, and then building positive relationships with good people.
Justin, look, you got something.
Yeah, no, I mean, that goes with everything. That goes with anything, right? Just not even just coaching, just as in general. If you were to listen to someone to talk about just life as a whole, man, what Coach Irvin just said right there, that's the key to successful people, right? Is to surround yourself with good quality people with the same ambitions and goals, and just continue to push, every single day to be a better and a harder worker every day. And I think you're going to have lots of success. And it showed for Ganado. My question for you, Coach, was at what moment did y'all think y'all really had a chance at making this state run? I know last year y'all kind of shocked everyone with the Refugio game, and then I don't think, I'm not going to knock you on the Terry Bussey thing. We watched him in person the year before, and it took an unreal effort from Refugio to beat that dude. But at what point this season do you say, you know what, man, I think we really got an opportunity to do something special here?
Yeah, I think we came into the season believing that we had a chance to do something really special. So, I mean, I'll throw it back to last year. And to me, it was really the Mason game in the second round of the playoffs, the area around it. We played in San Marcos, and we knew it was going to be a tough game. Mason had a really good team. And we had a young team. So if you throw it back to my first year here, we had a very heavy senior group. And we got better as the season went on. We lost to Refugio in the third round. It was a really close game at halftime, though. The closest we played them since I've been in Ganado, going back to 2018. And they ended up walking away with it in the second half. But you shift forward to 2023, and we graduated a bunch of them, including our stud quarterback at the time, who he was a 4-year starter. And so we had a new group of kids coming in, and they just kept getting better throughout the season. And so I think it was week 12. We were playing Mason, and the way we played that game, I really felt like we took a step as a team to where I was able to say, okay, we can be something really special. And then we played Hall in the next week, and then we played Refugio in the quarterfinals, and we played a lot better against them that time than we did the 4 weeks earlier in the season. And then the next week we played Timpson pretty well the first half, and then the second half they kind of ran away with it a little bit. And so coming into the season, we graduated 3 kids off that team. Coming into the season, we felt really, really good about where we were as a team, especially obviously it's 2A football. You got to stay healthy. But we knew if we stayed healthy and we could keep getting better each week, then we knew we had a really good shot to make a special run. And if not, it was going to be a really, really good team that was going to beat us.
We got a question from one of the listeners here. It's actually my brother-in-law. He said, curious how the week of state championship game prep might be different from any other week in the season.
Oh, for sure. It was insane. Absolutely insane. And so we got back Friday or late Thursday, early Friday, because we played in Shenandoah 2.5 hours away against Joaquin. And so we got back, and UIL's already blowing up the email with the list of stuff they need in the TV production and so you're trying to get all that. Then you're getting 15 games to break down from Stanford. And it was just an absolutely insane week. You got to plan out travel. Being a small school coach, obviously there's no athletic secretary, so you're kind of divvying it out to the other staff members or doing it yourself. And I kudos to the assistant coaches. I think we got some of the best assistant coaches in the state of Texas, the best I've ever been around for sure. And they did a great job this week helping out, whether it was booking the charter bus. I didn't even know who we were using. One of the assistant coaches, that was his job, get the charter bus and, hey, man, make sure they're here at 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. And sure enough, here they come. They rolling up, and everything goes just as it was supposed to. But you're booking hotels. You got all the credentials you have to hand out for the sideline, the suite, and all that crazy stuff. And then on top of that, then you got the meals whenever you get there. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. And we're not even talking about the game planning, but it was a bunch of late nights. I remember, so we took the kids to watch the first half of the Shiner game the night before, just for them to see the stadium. I don't know if any of them had ever been in it. And we go into the Shiner game, and we're watching the first half, and it was a great game, them versus Munster. And I fell asleep just because that's how, just exhausted, mentally drained. And I was talking to Coach Martinez, one of the UIL ADs, on the field.
Friend of the show.
Sir?
Friend of the show.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm talking to him, and he asked me, what are your plans over Christmas break? And I said, man, Coach, I think I'm just going to sit on the couch, and I'm just going to look at the wall whenever this is over with. I'm just mentally drained and exhausted right now. And what a great experience, though. I mean, obviously, you want to be in that situation. And next time, if we're blessed to have a next time, it'll be a lot smoother because it was a lot of learning being the first time. But it was a hectic week for sure. Fun, but very, very long and crazy.
Hectic week and a wild game, right? I mean, I don't think you could have capped a more hectic week with the way that game finished.
Oh, for sure, it was it was crazy.
What did you think of Stanford and what did you think of Stanford in person when y'all started playing those guys versus off the film that you saw?
Yeah, so I thought that run defense was really, really good. We thought they were good watching them on film, but they were even better than what we thought they were going into the game. They were faster than what I thought they may have been as a team as a whole. And I mean, there's a reason they're ranked number 1 all year, pretty much. And the quarterback, man, he was pretty good. Number 2, smaller than what he looked like on film, but man, he could play really good.
Yeah, I watched that game on the way up to East Texas en route, and I enjoyed that game thoroughly. Is there anything particularly that like, you know, the teams participating in state get? Like, do they set you up with anything like kind of team building that's cool, food? Like, is there anything like that, you know, that doesn't really get put out to the community that y'all get?
No, sir. Off the top of my head, not that I could think of.
Okay, I was wondering. But they do give you free access to watch the games before y'all, right?
They do. Yep, they give us the free access. So that was really cool. I think that had a big part to do with maybe the kids not being in shock and awe Thursday morning when we showed up for our game, and just what a cool experience. And that's what I told everyone in the press conference after the game, and I'll say it on here too. A huge shout out and a huge thank you to the UIL for everything they do. I mean, the way that they were able to kind of make sure we were where we needed to be when we needed to be once we got to the stadium, and just the opportunity to play at the AT&T Stadium. I mean, it was just what an awesome experience.
Was the reaction from the boys pretty fun to watch when y'all rolled in there? Because y'all roll in with buses underneath the stadium, right? That's how they offload y'all?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so you drive down underneath the stadium into a tunnel, which is really cool. But for the most part, from what I saw from our kids, is they were actually pretty locked in. And, I mean, we felt like, hey, we got a job to do, and that's to go out and play the best we can in the last game of the season. And I thought that was a big part of our success, is that, and even throughout the game, the ups and downs, is that they were pretty even keel the entire time. They didn't get too high, didn't get too low.
Yeah. No, y'all looked great. Y'all did. Do y'all lose a lot of kids off this class?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll graduate 16 seniors. We'll lose quite a few. But I am very optimistic with a bunch of the kids that are coming up in lower grades and in junior high.
Coach, I don't know if you can see that comment, but you got a Megan Alanis asking, when's the parade?
The parade. A few people have asked me that. They're like, when's the parade, Coach? Nah, I don't know. I don't set that up.
Remember, he's on the couch right now.
They do. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be a parade soon, though. And speaking of the parade, just the community support. When we got back Thursday night from Arlington, man, just a ton of people. In fact, they had a bunch of police cars doing like escorts. They were picking us up in different counties, and so they're picking and traveling across different county lines, and it was just really fast.
Yeah, I saw the video that came out that next day. We shared it on our page where they recorded y'all rolling into town and walking through the stadium, and the community out there greeting y'all at, what was it, like 2 a.m?
Yes, sir. It was late. There's fireworks going off, and just a fun time to be a part of the community.
I can only imagine what that community felt like, right? The people that stayed behind and watched it on TV, and just to see that, just to have that feel, that euphoria that you have as a community member, knowing that your team came back and did the thing, right? I can only imagine what it's like. I know we got folks there in the chat right now that are from there. So give us your take, man, from your side, from the fan side. What does it feel like to be a Canadian? What are you, Canadian? I like Canadian. Canadian sounds good. Is that what you guys go by, Canadians?
Canadian.
Oh man, well, Coach, we're not gonna keep you too much longer. We know you've got a whole lot of sitting on the couch left to do, and just to soak it in, right? I can only imagine you're still on that high, right?
I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50, starting to get to 75-25. Yeah, I'm still on the high, but the other part is, I mean, I'm already kind of thinking about next year. How do we be the best team that we can be next year? And so getting that process rolling, because here in a couple of weeks, kids are going to roll in, and we need to start the off-season program. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it, but I'm already kind of starting to shift gears also.
Yeah. Well, you got a couple of weeks, right? You got to the new year, and after that, you got to reset the clock, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking the time out. We when I reached out to Coach, we usually do our show on Tuesday nights, and when I sent you that message, we work shift work. We work that plant life down here, and you just lose track of what day it is and what's not. Like, I can't believe it's Christmas next week, and when I asked him, I was like, "Hey, come on the show. Can you come on the show next Tuesday?" Like, "Oh yeah," and then he shoots a message back. He's like, "Wait, that's Christmas Eve." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is Christmas Eve." So we had to move the show up a day, which works out for us, right? Because we would have had to move the show up a day anyways. But it took you to remind me that Christmas Eve was on Tuesday.
There's no way in hell the wife would have let that happen.
Oh, no way. None whatsoever. But Coach, again, we thank you guys for coming on. Pass on to the staff, to the kids, the community. We said our congratulations and thanks for bringing it back to Region 4. It's nice to have a title down here in this region again, especially it's a slept on region for a lot of reasons, but we appreciate when anybody from the region goes up. And we got a few this year, not just in the small classifications. That's usually where it is, the smaller classifications that represent Region 4 and come back with some hardware. And we had a few this year, so that's a good thing for Region 4. But again, Coach, we appreciate you guys doing what you're doing, what you guys do on a daily basis, with the work that the kids put in, and just that community support. So again, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. And we hope to hear from you soon. We hope to have you back on again sometime.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
we definitely like to build relationships out here. Last year we talked about y'all's run. We followed you on the playoffs a little bit, and we had a lot of feedback in the offseason. Why don't you guys cover Ganado? And it's just like, you guys are just so far from us. We don't feel like, and it's not in a bad way. It's just like, we don't feel like we could give you guys the coverage you deserve. Because it's more, we've mentioned you guys in passing, and we did the same thing with Tidehaven. We've had Coach Lucio on the show a couple times, and we followed them extensively last year. And it's as much as we'd like to, we can't get out there very often because you guys are just that little bit too far out of our reach.
Yes, sir, for sure. Well, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for having us on, and man, Merry Christmas, and talk to y'all soon.
Yeah, same to you, Coach. Thanks for coming on. You guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes, sir.
Spoken like a 30-year coaching vet.
Yeah. Nice, solid, man. They got a good one. You can tell.
Yeah. Very.
I think that's part of what he said, man. Just surrounding himself with the right guys and the right mentors to put himself in a good situation like that. I think it's kind of hard sometimes for these coaches to find a guy that mentors them in a correct, positive way sometimes. And it seems like he found that in Coach Bennett, and it clearly worked out for him. That's great. And I think it's good, too, the younger coaches that listen to the show just take some of that with themselves, right? Or maybe they're afraid, or they're scared that, hey, I'm too young. They're going to laugh me out of that interview. Dude just took a shot at himself. You never know, right?
Yeah. But the biggest thing is you got to get invited in the door, right? And I think that's the biggest problem you see is they see that small resume and they're afraid to bring them in. That's not going to hurt. It's definitely doing the show and being a board member now, and talking to different coaches and doing things like that. It's definitely changed my perspective.
Yeah.
It has on the candidates that you want to bring in when looking for these jobs. And for folks that say, you've got to have you've got to have this many years under your belt. Says who? I think AJ was another one. AJ was a first year athletic director. I mean, that Odom was his first AD job.
Really?
Yeah, and that was a fight from what I hear when they got him hired was he's too young. He's too young. He hasn't done a whole lot.
Always.
And he had some pretty good teams out here. Ran a pretty good program. So he did his thing. So yeah, to you young coaches out there, don't give up. Don't give up the fight. Don't get discouraged. And a lot of times, I spoke, when I was in the service, we had all these speakers that came and talked to us, and usually it's an enlisted guy with 30 plus years of service who was a chief master sergeant of the Air Force, right? Who's your head enlisted guy over everybody. And one of the most interesting guys I heard talk was Chief Robert Gaylor. He was the 5th chief master sergeant in the Air Force. And he had this talk, and it was like, do you have the motivation to do a job, right? Do you want to do it? Do you have the aptitude to do it? Yeah, you're smart enough to be able to do the job. Do you have the ability to do it? And then you've got to have the opportunity, right? And a lot of times you can't sit around and wait for opportunity to come knocking. You've got to make your own opportunities. And you've got to take advantage of any little crack in the door that you see open to get your foot in there. And just like I said, I'm going to rant and trail off on something else. But yeah, it's definitely changed my perspective on what needs to be looked at for an athletic director / head coach, especially with so many of the older cats, just like we talked about right now with Coach Bennett. He's leaving the profession, right? He wasn't run out of town. He resigned, and you're seeing that a lot, right? You're seeing a lot of folks leave the profession for various reasons, right? I mean, they're either shown the door and they just, I'm done, or they're just like, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm hanging it up. You saw with Coach Moreno there in London, just kind of.
It's a hard profession, man.
It is. And it's getting harder now with different types of helicopter parents that don't make things easier, or just different rules that come down, different changes, different policies, funding. It's hard. It's making it a job that's undesirable almost,
Yeah. I mean, for everything that's good about it, it's definitely, if you really look at what these dudes have to go through versus off the pay, they put up with a lot of stuff, right? They're in charge of a lot of stuff. There's a lot of room for error with stuff. You constantly have, people bitching and complaining, this or that, constantly, always, nitpicking what you do, this and that, and sometimes at the end of the day, there's absolutely nothing a coach can do to control any of it, you know, whether you want to believe that or not. Sometimes you just can't do anything about it. So I definitely see where some of these guys are hanging it up to go to different avenues and whatnot. So, but it's also creating a door for guys like Coach Irvin.
Yeah.
He seems like he's going to be a good one for the next 30, 40 years, right? So that'll be an interesting guy to follow. I'm glad we got him on the show tonight for sure.
So the new generation is tough to deal with, right? That's why you get a new generation coach, right? That has the same interests, that have the same kinds of different ways to speak to the today's athlete, right? Who can relate to those kinds of things that a 30, 25-year coach can, right? And you hear it, it happens. Every generation it happens. They probably said it with my generation. Mike, they probably said it with your generation. I mean, we're kind of the same generation. They probably said it with us. You can't talk to these kids anymore. You can't coach these kids anymore.
Yeah.
It's cyclical. It happens. It just times change, right? And then maybe you just need that younger mind to deal with that different. And now, granted, there's some things that you can't. It just happens across generations, right? I don't know, whatever. That we can go on a soapbox, go down a road that way, talk about that for 10 hours. They get a whole off season worth of talk on that stuff, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
But let's take a quick break, real quick, and we will be back, and we'll recap the state games that Justin got to see last week, and then we'll finish out the 2024 season. So hang on, guys. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Brian Williford, president and owner of Al Williford Chevrolet in Portland, where we've been family-owned since 1984. One word that we love around here is community. We have a heart for the Coastal Bend, which is why we value people first. Whether you're in the market for a new Chevrolet or a quality pre-owned vehicle, our friendly sales professionals are eager to help. We also have an amazing full-line service department featuring genuine GM parts and accessories to keep your vehicle running and looking its best. Plus, for life's accidents, we have a fantastic collision center where we repair all makes and models and work with most insurance carriers. Remember, when you buy from us, we're not looking for a one-time sale. We look forward to building a relationship together for years to come. Thank you, and we invite you to join the Al Williford Chevrolet.
Guys, again, if you guys are in the market for a New Year's vehicle, go see our guys, Brian Williford and Zach Solis there, and his staff at Al Williford Chevrolet off beautiful, newly paved Highway 181 in Portland. They will definitely make the trip worth your while. So, Tell us about state, Justin.
Man, it was good.
Let's lead off with your boys.
Yeah, so I rolled in Thursday out to East Texas, right? Just enough time to drop off the family at my brother-in-law's house, scoop him up, and we hightailed it into Dallas right as game was kicking off for the Cardinals and Malakoff. And we set up in the first half up in the second row, which I honestly kind of up in the second level, which I honestly kind of really enjoyed. And, obviously Columbus first drive, the offense looked good. And then Malakoff came out, and it dawned on me that it was the Mike Jones kid, right, from years past. And they honestly made that first drive for Malakoff look really easy. So I was sitting there thinking, man, this could be kind of hairy for the Cardinals if Malakoff's able to stop that offense, because defensively it was looking like they were going to give up a lot of points to Malakoff as the game progressed. And then, and Columbus shot themselves in the foot on multiple drives. They would start off in, first and 15, first and 20. And it really just didn't matter. Grayson Rigdon was the real deal as always. But honestly, man, Adam Schobel, to me, out of all the quarterbacks that played all weekend long, I thought Adam Schobel looked like he was the best one in the building. Now, I'll give the kid from North Crowley credit. He made some really good throws, extremely fast. But as a whole, I felt like Adam Schobel had one of the best arms on display all game. Receivers wise, they did an excellent job for him. And then defensively, Columbus just clamped down. John Schobel. And I talked to my brother after the game. I said I couldn't. I didn't remember what was the formation, what was the roster lineup that they rolled out within the first drive. If they changed it up and went a little smaller with some speed, but I know from the second drive on, they went real heavy on the blitz and stunts, and John Schobel just made Mike Jones' life miserable back there. He that kid's one of the toughest players I've ever seen, by the way, from Malakoff, because he took an absolute beating. At one point had to get taken out of play, then come back in, and then got walloped again. But Columbus pretty much from start to finish looked like the best team on the field. It wasn't really even close at a certain point, and it was just insane to see, getting to see one of my buddies win state, finally getting to watch a team that I actually had ties to win a state title. I thought that would never happen in my lifetime. That was interesting. And then just, I actually ran into my old neighbor when we were leaving the game. I thought that was fun too.
Brother.
Ran into her. They brought buses in. They busted people in from town. Right. So I thought that was cool. Dude, just really impressive win for Matt Schobel and the boys. And, I felt like that was kind of their destiny, right, with what their season was, and especially when you start adding up the last couple of weeks, the 62, and then on his birthday, and then, you cap it off with the state title. Like, sometimes things are just meant to be, man. And I felt like that was one of them. And, and I honestly think they were going for 62 again. But Malakoff had a really long drive there in the beginning of the fourth quarter that kind of killed that opportunity. And then at that point, Columbus just kind of went, they just kind of chilled out, let their backups finish the game out. Rigdon actually got hurt started the fourth quarter. And I was a little bit worried for him because I thought it was a knee. It looked like it was like a knee tear at first.
Yeah.
So I was just obviously disappointed for him. But then the more you looked at it, it looked like it was he's one of these crazy cats. He wears the knee pads on his thigh, and it looked like he just ended up getting like a contusion on that thigh because he had ice on it. He was actually walking around fine. But yeah, dude, it was impressive. I was extremely happy with that game. They looked the part. Coach Schobel finally got one for the deal, and I sent you the link on the 81-year-old coach. I thought that was pretty cool for him. That was interesting because I remember telling you at the Cuero game, I'm like, I don't know what the hell this guy's job is.
Yeah. So there's a story that they did, and it was a 80-year-old coach. So he coached at Columbus for years. His daughter's the one that shared it, right? His daughter was the one that shared it. And he had been retired. And when Coach Schobel came back into town, he ran into her and said, hey, I'd like your father to come back and coach. And he said, well, let me ask him. And he's cutting the yard, right, or doing something to kill his time. And, he thought about it and went back to coach. And so he'd been on the staff since Coach Schobel got there. And then he was able to
75 when he rejoined the staff.
Yeah, so 5 years, and ended up getting a state title finally, and that's actually pretty cool. It's one of those stories that Texas high school football, man, right? I mean,
Well, they said that the thing was I think it was like 2 years ago they got knocked out. I forgot who it was. I think it might have been Moreno that knocked them out. And they felt like that year was the year they had a chance to win it all. And his daughter, I think, in the deal said that he got home and he immediately was watching the game and asked him, what you're doing? And he's like, I'm just dreaming. Right. He was like, guess didn't think he's ever going to get one. So I thought that was crazy. Just another story to that historical run, right? That was kick ass. As far as the rest of the state goes, didn't go Friday. We kept it over in East Texas. We went and golfed at a little country club in Mineola. Really cool time. Then we watched the Notre Dame game that night, and then we watched actually the high school games on our phone before the Notre Dame game. But Saturday came, and of course, Kinsey got sick Friday night. Ace got sick Saturday morning, and it hit me like a freight train Saturday afternoon when we were at AT&T. So we didn't watch the Smithson Valley game. We got there at the very tail end of it, and then we were going to watch the Southlake and the Westlake game. So we both agreed that if you do 3 whole games there in one day, boy, that's a long day. Two's already kind of topping it out, right? And the problem is you can't leave. If you want to, bang for your buck, you can't exit and re-enter.
There's no re-entry policy. There's a re-entry policy. Can't do it.
That kind of puts a dampener on it. So you have to just go ahead and fork out the cash you want to go and come, right? As far as being able to get in and get seats, when we got there with Southlake, it was on the Smithson Valley side, so they were taking a little long to clear it out. So you come in at the second level, you got to go down to the first level. So in this, from basically the 30 to 30 on that side, they had 2 massive groups of people waiting in line to go down to be able to get a chance at the first rows, or the first level. So we sat there for like 35 minutes. And finally we were able to get out there, and of course you have the typical people trying to I'm holding 15 seats. Well, sorry, no, you're not. We just went through, pal. This is general admission. So you have those clowns. And then, once you get through that part, though, it's not bad because you don't have to leave. Like after the Southlake game, we just stood up in between the ceremony and snuck down like 6 or 7 rows and got the very first row for the Westlake game and then just camped out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the Westlake people that come in and they're kind of like looking around like they're shocked, that anyone would be here, to watch the game.
Is that a cat?
Yeah, it's my cat. But other than that, dude, games were really good. I was very impressed with Vandegrift. They looked like the more physical team. Very shocked that Westlake actually beat Vandegrift in the regular season because I want to say they played. And then, of course, I'm sure I told you, but, dude, North Crowley, obviously on their side of the field, 3 rows deep on both sides in the end zones. But North Crowley's side was pretty much full of DFW people, right? It was basically Dallas-Fort Worth versus everyone at that moment in time. And the way they started the game off with a 75-yard flea flicker was possibly the loudest I've ever heard a stadium ever erupt. Just one of the most electric plays. And it happened right in front of us, so that was even more impressive. And, and Quentin Gibson, he's just an insane animal. Like that dude,
fast, man.
That dude was one of the fastest guys I've seen on the field. They just had tons of talent everywhere, man. And people can say the whole certain arguments and hard workers and this, but at a certain point in time, man, sometimes talent just trumps everything. And you got guys that they clearly put in hard work and they got talent, dude. Like that was a very well coached football team over there. I watched some stuff on North Crowley and Coach Gates, dude, and you can tell that's not your average. They look a lot like how DeSoto is coached. Was identical. And you're seeing those schools. Coach Samples, same thing with Duncanville.
Yeah.
And they put it together, man, and they just were impressive. And yeah, like my brother saw, the atmosphere was insane for the North Crowley Westlake game, dude. So would do it again. I wouldn't fight the crowd to go down at the first level. I would just go right into the second level, get on the very front row of it, and camp out right there on the second level. It's a really good seating arrangement. You see the whole field really clearly. If you can, the very front row where we set for the North Crowley Westlake game, those are great seats too. It's just you're going to have to go through some pain to get those spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just going to be walk in, grab those, and go. You know.
So
Unless
you know what's been absent this year?
And tell them you need to get escorted in. That happened.
You know what's been absent this post state championship is the call to rotate the stadium. It has not been as vocal as it has been in the past, and I think that's because there was a lot of other regions that won titles this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Columbus in Region 3, you had Vandergrift in Region 4, you had Ganado in Region 4, you had Smithson Valley in Region 4. So yeah, I think it still needs to be rotated. That's a hike, dude. You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to see other stadiums host it. Man, I don't know if they want them, but I think it'd still be a cool experience. Like, I mean, that's what really kept me from going was the drive, dude. Like, I was like, man, I don't want to coming off days. And I'm still on day shift schedule. I've been getting up at like 4 every morning.
That's crazy.
And just like wide awake, not like it's like blink. So that kind of takes me back to what I was going to talk about earlier. So we go to Austin, right, for this game. We leave at 5 a.m. on Saturday, game day, right? Because we wanted to get there a decent time, beat the Austin traffic, which we did. We rolled into Austin about 8 o'clock, no traffic, nothing, dude. We were able to get an early check-in at the hotel, checked into the hotel, went, got something to eat, and then went down to the stadium about 9 o'clock, 10. Things started opening, did that stuff, right? So we're at the stadium, down a few beers, right? We didn't drink a whole lot. And then we go get dinner after. So the game's over by 6 o'clock, right? 6 o'clock, 6:30. We have to end up walking like a mile to get an Uber because there's just so many people outside the stadium, dude. And how are you going to get an Uber to pick you up in this horde of people, right? It's not going to work, right? And it took us a good half a mile before we started seeing pedicabs. And at that point, a pedicab is just going to cost as much as an Uber. So it's like, we'll just walk a couple more blocks and get an Uber. So we get an Uber. We go grab something to eat. And he's like, Isaac's like, hey, my friends are here. My friends live here. They want us to meet at this bar. It's a holiday themed bar called Miracle on 5th Street, right? It's just a pop-up holiday bar. Normally, I'm game.
Random?
Huh?
Just random bar for the holidays? That's it?
Pop-up bar, yeah. And normally, I'm game for that kind of stuff, dude. But I was so tired, dude. Like I said, I was still on day shift schedule. And dude, I don't want to go. I'm tired. I was falling asleep eating dinner. I was like, "Go, dude. Your friends are here. I'm old. Don't worry about me. You take a key, fucking go, and come in whenever." And so the next day, he rolls in about 1 o'clock, 1:30. And the next day, I wake up and it's 6 o'clock, and I'm wide awake, dude. And me and Rebecca are messaging each other. And I was like, "Yeah, Isaac rolled in about 1:30. You know, I was like, I'm up." And she's like, "What are you doing up?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "My machine said I slept fucking 8 hours. I feel rested."
Wow.
She's like, "That is the oldest I've ever heard you sound in my life."
Yeah.
Like she said, "I sound like an old man." With those 3 phrases, like my machine said, because I have a CPAP. I've got the apnea, fellas.
You have the CPAP with you?
Oh, dude, I have to, dude. I snore like a chainsaw.
Wow.
I she has never recorded me snoring, but like my kids have complained, like when we go to hotels and stuff, like, dude, I got this thing in the nick of time before we went on this road trip to California. Nobody would have been happy if I had not taken that thing on the trip, dude. Like nobody would have gotten any sleep. Nobody would have done anything, right? So, yeah, I take this thing everywhere with me where I go, dude. And yeah, it tells you how long you slept. I look at it and say, I feel rested for 8 hours.
You feel better when you sleep with it?
Dude, I don't know if I buy that. Like, so if I get a lot of sleep, yes, but I would feel great if I got a lot of sleep in the first place. Right? Any people in the comments, y'all got the app? Dude, yeah. So that's the joke at work, right? So people, you could like, this is true, dude. This is it's the silent killer, Mike. That's what I call it, dude, because it's quiet to you. You can't hear yourself snore, but you may not wake up, dude. And
wow.
We'll hear people doze off at work, and it's just bad. And we're like, it's the apnea, dude. the apnea must be contagious, right? Because you hear everybody snoring so loud. But yeah, so yeah, I take that thing with me everywhere. And if I don't sleep with it here at the house, it's very loud. My wife will not sleep, and she's elbowing me all night, which means I can't sleep.
She throws elbows.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. And I tell her to. But like I said, do I feel like I get more sleep when I get a lot of sleep? Yes. If it's a night shift, like if we're working days, and I'm falling asleep at 7, and I wake up at 2:30 the next morning to get ready for work, yeah, I feel great because I got 6 hours, 7 hours sleep. But if it's one of those day shifts where I don't go to bed till 10 and I got to wake up at 4 and I still put it on, I'm exhausted. It's just to my opinion, it's how long you sleep. You know, that I think that's just really what it comes down to. Do I feel better after 4 hours? What's that?
How do you get one of these damn things?
Oh, dude, you got to go to a sleep study. You got to do all kinds of stuff, dude. So first thing you got to do is talk to your doctor. Like the way I went is Rebecca woke up one night and she said I stopped breathing. And she was like, that freaked me out. So after that, I went and set up an appointment with my doctor, got referred to a sleep study, and you got to do those twice. You go one time and you go without the machine. They don't put a machine on you. They just want to see how you sleep. And then you go back the next time they put a machine on you and see how you sleep. And
so you sleep there all night?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. They hook all these wires up to you. I don't think I have the fixtures on my phone anymore because I cleared everything on my phone because I was losing memory. So I put them on my hard drive. But yeah, I got pictures of it where I got all these wires on my head and stuff and all that stuff. Yeah.
So it's like going to a hotel.
Sort of, but the bed's crappier. And people are watching you. And you have wires all over you. So they're watching you the whole time. There's cameras in the room. They're watching you sleep. How many times did I die the first time? I don't know what that means. Did I say something? Was I? Oh, so the other day, I have to tell you this. My wife shared this post the other day. It was an inside joke. So it was one night I was falling asleep without my machine on, and I just got because I kind of lay because we have those reclining beds right that go up and down like and because that was one thing they don't buy the 0G beds.
I got one.
It does not help your snoring at all. That's the first thing I did, right? It does not help. They put you in this position and whatnot. It's supposed to stop you from snoring. It does not work. Don't believe the hype, folks. Don't go out and buy one of those beds.
You don't like your bed, though?
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying it doesn't work.
So me and Kinsey are weird because she rarely uses the actual mechanisms for what the bed's intended for, like the up and down and all that.
Yeah.
She uses the it's got like the different levels of massage and vibrating in it.
Okay.
Right?
We don't have that one.
I use that as well, but a lot of times I will go to the 0G position, or I'll at least crank the head up because it helps me with my acid reflux.
Oh, okay.
But I to be honest with you about the snoring thing, wouldn't know a difference. I have no clue, you know. I'm sure I do. She doesn't really say much about it, but I would like to get the CPAP machine now just to add that to the. Could you imagine seeing me with a CPAP with a 0G and the vibrators going? I look like laid out in bed.
See, I heard those mouthpieces don't work. My dentist told me about that, and he said, kind of. Your insurance will pay for it, but I just heard it's not. My dentist says it doesn't work that great.
You just get everything. Get the mouthpiece, the machine on the face.
Well, see, the one I use, it just goes up my nose, right? So I had this one that covered like here, and it had holes at the top to where my nose would breathe into it, right? They determined like if you breathe through your mouth, if you're a mouth breather or if you're a nose breather, right? So So the one I had first that I took on this California trip, it was cutting the bridge of my nose under here, right? And on the app, you can still see how many episodes you have. Like during the night, during your course of sleep, right? And the episode, I guess, is how many times you stop breathing or something, right? And my wife said she could still hear me snore. She's like, it wasn't very loud, but I could still hear you. So I changed it. They call it the nose pillows. It's just this little piece that goes right here, and it's got these little things that go right here, and it wraps around my head. And I feel like as soon as I put that on, my episodes went from here to here, like to nothing. What is this, dude? What's this? What's this all about?
It's like the reference when he's like asking if he wants to try some of that on the Dewey Cox story. You're part of that, Dewey. I'm asking about the CPAP.
Actually, mine did. Mine didn't come through the VA, but TRICARE did mine, and it covered it. I just had to use it so many, like I think at least 18 days a month for 90 days, and it paid for it. So yeah, my TRICARE insurance paid for it, so that's fine. Yeah. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. I don't know what got us talking about that. But I think we're rambling at this point now. Before we end off and finish off the year, what was your biggest takeaway from the 2024 season? I'm not going to say your best, because we can go on forever. Your best moment, favorite moment, or whatever. What was your biggest takeaway from this season?
Biggest takeaway, man.
Or answer whatever. What stood out to you the most from this season? What was your favorite memory? What did you like seeing? What did you not like seeing?
Dude, to be honest with you, I think the fact that people coming over adversity, right? Just in this area as a whole, man. Like, I think the Sinton story this year was pretty one of my favorites. With this, how they were able to overcome some setbacks of the season, a tough schedule, kids getting injured, batting all the way up, not quite sealing the deal against Wimberley. I think that was the biggest disappointment probably for those dudes as a whole. But other than that, their season was pretty successful. They went through a lot, man.
Yeah.
But just in general, like I guess like the fact of the kids down here are just overcoming adversity, right? Like some of these teams down here scheduling out to bigger schools, trying to put forth some effort that they want to, they want to see growth around themselves as teams. Miller going up and facing DeSoto, that was one of my favorite moments of the year. I think, for us as a show, just the steps that we took, I think as a whole, like some of the things we were able to incorporate this year were fun. Being able to do the live shows, 3 times this year at the car dealership, being able to go and showcase what we could do at Cuero, that was fun. I'd like to do more of that this next year. Having a lot more support that way. And then having just buy-in from the coaches around here that allow us to do that, man. We've, a lot of these guys have allowed 100% access to the programs to us, and even guys outside of our general area have done a lot of good things. Now, moving forward, I kind of like your idea the other day, week 1 of heading up to Carthage and was it Carthage and Chapel Hill? Was that week 1? What was the game you were looking at?
Kilgore.
I wouldn't mind venturing out a little more into the state, on some of our down weeks, right? Getting more coverage out there. I think it just helps us out as a show in general. Being able to do some of the things, like that we do well. I think if you get Blake on board and set up some type of show up there, show these people that, man, this is what we do back at home.
Well, we've got an invite to Salina. Remember that. We've got an invite to Salina.
I'm telling you, this is a South Texas football show, but as a whole, ask the people on here. Michael's a Cuero guy, but he tunes in every week, comments all the time. My brother-in-law's back in Lindale. He's on there all the time talking. Of course, he plays here for them, but when we started the show, I was always more statewide based, and I brought it back into the local areas when we created the show. But what got me involved with Jacob was I always really tracked hardcore across the state, So anytime I get an opportunity to go back out into that world, I love it, So
yeah,
I think to be able to showcase some of that to other fan bases throughout the state would be badass, I don't know. Ask the people what they would want to see more of. What would you come in on all that? What was your favorite thing this year?
I wouldn't say it was my favorite thing, but the thing that really that took notice with me was the head coaching changes, right? So you have Flower Bluff and Coach Elwood taking over this year for longtime head coach Steinbrook. You had Drew Cox taking over for Jason Herring and Refugio. You had Charlie Reeve taking over for Steve Campbell / Phil Danaher there in Cal Allen. And the programs did not miss a beat.
No.
Not one. Right? They trucked along like they wanted, like they had been. Right? And I like seeing that. A lot of folks thought some of these guys were going to fall flat on their faces this year, and man, they did not disappoint this year, and that was surprising yet satisfying. You know what I mean? Because we were doubters. We weren't doubters with the Calhoun hire. We knew it was a good hire, but we thought it was going to be a transition year in a rough patch. And man, they I think they outperformed everybody's expectations. Maybe even some of yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
maybe even some of the folks in that building. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Um,
I think fan base alone.
Yeah.
There may be a handful of people in that town that would have really bought that, what they were going to do prior to the season. They can argue at a wall for all I care. I know that for a fact. I think there was a lot of doubters over there with what he
Yeah.
did.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
they're singing praises, which they should, because I think what he did was great. I think you get that dude a couple more years over there and really build his program and brand. I think sky's the limit for Cal. And it's exciting for me, even though I'm not supposed to root for Cal Allen, but I've always said, that I felt like if they were to go into a, spread system, I always felt like they would have success over there. I felt like they had the athletes. I never really bought they're only built for wing T. I just never really bought that. Like I've always felt like they've had good enough receivers and quarterbacks over the years that they could have really have had a really good success in the spread if they wanted to. I felt like for the longest time they had the best quarterbacks in South Texas. You could list them in a row. Boom, 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 boom. I can do it right now. Jordan Chambliss, Jonathan Vest, Ryan Duke, Jeremy Merrick, Dustin Vaughn. You know what I mean? Like I could just keep going with it. And so I think what Coach Reeve inherited over there is going to be really, really something for them. As long as they continue to have the buy-in and support from the fans and the kids, right?
Yeah.
But I think they will.
Yeah. So I think that was my biggest thing this year. And again, it was cool going to the Dome and watching Miller DeSoto game. I'd like to see more things like that with our local guys doing more. And we missed a lot because we didn't cover the Valley. San Benito played Carthage. They played Austin Westlake. Who else did they play? They played quite a few folks. That was a murderer's row of a schedule this year, and they
San Benito or Harlan?
San Benito. There's the Quarry Oakland game is a good game that Michael's talking about, one that we hadn't been to. But I think if we do some things like that, like we go a little further in the state this year, we're not going to forget our South Texas roots, guys. So don't worry about that. I mean, the show is always going to be centered around South Texas athletes, but it's also a high school football show, right? And we'd like to see what's going on in other areas of the state, see how some of these games. I'd love to go to the Mid County Madness game, that P&G Nederland game. I'd love to go see that.
Yeah.
The Gilmore.
It's not bad, right? Because you get your Tuesday night show for the week, and then you would have the live event show wherever we roll in. And it depends on like what the schedules look like. If we have some down weeks here, whatnot, what have you. But
yeah. And then so one of the other things that I wanted to talk about that before Coach Irvin got on was the A&M Kingsville new head coach. You see they hired a head coach today?
Saw that. Is he from Louisiana Tech?
Louisiana Tech, the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech.
Wow.
So that's an interesting hire. Scott Parr is his name. Louisiana Tech, not a very impressive season this past year. They averaged about 228 yards per game in passing, 114 yards per game rushing, and about 343 yards per game of offense. I say those stats, I'm saying them out loud. Some folks, there was a comment on Facebook or on Twitter where somebody said, look at his JUCO record, right? I guess he was a JUCO head coach there at one point. Mike Ganthu came out of real estate, who had been out of Mike Salinas, came out of coaching, was out of coaching for a couple of years, came back and brought Kingsville to the playoffs again. I think I'll save my reservations to see what he does on the field, because if Mike Ganthu being out of coaching was able to bring it back. Now, he was a former player, knew what being a Javelin was about, knew what needed to be done to the program. I'm gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt and come in with a clean slate and say, hey, Mike's he's the athletic director now. right?
Yeah.
He had us this higher. We'll see. I'm going to take it as a wait and see approach, and we'll see what happens.
Well, he's going to be bringing in probably the air raid offense because he's underneath Sonny Cumbie over there at Louisiana Tech, and that's what Sonny Cumbie runs. He's an air raid guy underneath Mike Leach. And he was over at TCU for a little while as well with Doug Meacham and Gary Patterson. So I'm assuming that's the same type of offense he's going to bring over here to Kingsville. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think you got to give the guy an opportunity. Can't really knock him at Louisiana Tech. He's not the head coach there, and honestly, Louisiana Tech's a pretty hard draw, man. You're stuck in there. You're recruiting against big name brands like LSU, obviously the Texas schools, the Alabamas, the Arkansas. And you're a big school yourself, so it's hard to get the best of the best, and you have to play a schedule with the best of the best. So I think you got to give him time, see what happens. I mean, must have liked him for some reason, right, to hire him. So we'll see how it goes. We got to make that connection, though, so we have that little bond.
We've got the in at the university. Remember, that can put us into contact again with.
I still want to go do the friggin' party thing over there, dude.
We need to do that next. That's something we got to take up next year. Is go down to one of the tailgates, and
we're gonna do the thing on the field in the end zone.
Set up shop there or something. Hey, we'll figure it out. We're mobile, right? We get a good Wi-Fi signal. We're good. If we get the Starlink, we should be fine, right? If we go that route with it.
Yeah.
But so Val Moreno's in here as well. He's one of the officials with Tasso here. I have an assignment for the both of you when you talk about. We wanted to have Val on this season, and we just got busy with all kinds of other stuff. We never got it on. It's something that we definitely need to talk about, especially with this official shortage. Just kind of get a peek on the inside. What it's like, what's going on, because we hear this all the time, right? There's always complaints about officials and whatnot. So yeah, Val, we'll reach out in the off season and we'll figure something out. We'll do something. And even if it's an off season show that we need for filler, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just to keep the algorithm going, we'll have you on and start talking about the officials and stuff like that. Remember when Dubroff did the officiating for a game?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to bring that thing back.
Yeah.
Segment up and see where it's at. But before we go for the year, because this is our last show of the year, we'll probably be back sometime maybe in March or somewhere. Who knows? We haven't even talked about more coming back next year. I do want to say thank you to all our sponsors this year who have helped us grow, right, with production wise and helping us grow our following. Brian Williford and Zach Solis at Al Williford, thank you guys for inviting us to do this kickoff show and kind of building this partnership that we have, and just allow us to come into your place, do our show, and grow our show, and showcase of what we can do, and helping us reach out to coaches that we hadn't talked to before, right? That preseason kickoff show, we extended or opened our doors to a lot of guys we hadn't built relationships with before. And I think that's a good thing moving forward.
Yep.
Elite Tank Solutions for our Player of the Week trophies and the support you guys have given us from day one when we started this show back in 2018. Everything you guys have allowed us to do and present to Coastal Bend athletes, that's been great. Bubba, who's always been a longtime supporter of everything Odom and kind of everything that we do with the show. Yeah. We appreciate you guys there at Dawson's, man. Thank you for that. Blake for coming on board this year, and allowing us to grow and showcase what we can do now. Blake's kind of the unsung hero of these live shows that we do, with his gadgets and wizardry and whatever else he can do to get this show going. Blake, we appreciate everything you've done for us, and then Doug Carter at 97 Sports Promotions for helping us out. We're slowly, it's happening, man. We're getting the business here. You got vets this year, guys. If you got any decals, go be our guy.
Yep.
Sports Promotions. He has his own shop. He doesn't send anything out for sources. He does everything in house. He's going to get you a very good deal. He can do the ghost printing on your chrome decals. He can do whatever you want to do. Give him a shot, man. I mean, especially with decals. Decals they're so expensive now. Like,
they're super expensive.
People get sticker shock with these things. He'll help you out. He'll work with you. And like I said, he's done a lot of stuff for us this season at no cost. He helped build the Sitton GP helmet, the Battle of 181 trophy that we started up with Brian and Zach over at Al Wilford. He did all the details at his expense. Our player stickers, he gave those to us at no expense this year. Guys, look him up. 97 Sports Promotions. Justin, you got anything else? You got anything you want to say before we go for the year?
No, man, just really appreciative of all the support, all the growth from the the listeners this year. Obviously, Brian at Williford, Bubba for always standing up and supporting us. I think Blake, Blake is a wizard, as Jacob would call it. He really does some crazy stuff. He's a big help to the show. Obviously, what year was this? What, year 7 for us?
7.
Right. Yeah. 7 years doing this show, man. Appreciate everything you put into it this year. People will be surprised, but Jacob builds these little logs or these little scripts before the shows, and I get off scot-free a lot of times, and he sends it to me. So appreciate that. He does a lot of the prep work. That way I don't screw it up. So I appreciate you for that. Obviously Becca for being a good supporter of us. I wish I could say the same for Kinsey, but she
no. I think you know what that is my bad, Kinsey. Thank you for allowing Justin to do this with me as well, man. I know it's at first she probably, just as Rebecca, probably thought this was a novelty and a hobby that would go away after a year or two. And
7 years,
year 7, yeah.
Joke, I say, week 10 is the divorce week, and then we move into the playoffs and we forget it all ever happened, and then we got like a 7-month break, so we're good.
Yeah. It's after that you kind of forget, right?
But no, it was fun. It was a good year. A lot of good stuff out this year.
Yeah, guys, and if you have a business, you have a small business, you want to advertise. The next biggest thing we've got is the pregame kickoff show that we'll do next year at Williford Chevrolet. You guys saw it. We're actually going to probably break it into more parts than 2, just because it was so long. But there is plenty of opportunity to advertise your business on that show. If you're interested, shoot us a DM, shoot us a PM, whatever. You have our number, shoot us a text, man. We'll work something out. We can figure something out. We want to help you guys promote your business, and at the same time, we want to allow you guys to help us promote South Texas athletes. Absolutely. But I think that's all I got, dude. Guys, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a follower of the show. You guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's from my family to all yours, to you, Justin. Anything you got, sir?
Yep. Merry Christmas, dude. It's been a good run, dude. Love it. Ready for next year already. I am tired. Ain't gonna lie. This year was a grind, dude.
It was, dude. It was.
Top of scheduling this, whatnot. This was a grind.
Yeah, and it's just gonna get busier, man. We're back at work the day after Christmas, so we'll be off. We're working through New Year's. But again, guys, we'll see you when we see you. Obviously, we'll put stuff out when we're gonna pop something up. When we regenerate the coffee with coaches again when we got time in the off season. Next biggest thing is the Coastal Bend Coaches Convention in January. We will not be there. We will be at work, which is a bummer because that's a good time to network again with the coaches and getting some interviews. But guys, again, thanks for watching. And my favorite D1 athlete, there he is right there. Tom Wart says hello. Guys, we'll see you next year. Have a great holidays.